Hi.
Spread out. Oh my goodness. Okay, cool. Oh, I just ate. Man, I can't decide if I want to sit down or keep standing. This is a really nice microphone. Well done. Convention Center. Fantastic sound equipment. Okay, so this is me. I'm Caitlin, and I'm just here to answer your questions. I don't have any cool stuff to show you. I didn't bring any crazy setups or anything like that. Just, you know, me and you and whatever you want to hear me talk about for a whole hour. Oh my gosh. Cool. Okay, great. This is really fun. All right, we'll start right here.
In your experience, does the fan service have any negative impact on female voice actors?
Wow, we're starting it off deep, friends. I like it. I like it. Thank you. So, in my experience, does fan service have a negative impact on the voice actors? While I think that sometimes it does not overshadow all of the good things that any particular actor has done in their career. It can make things a little awkward, but I think that it often has to do with the individual viewer and how they take it in, and maybe their inability to see us as humans that are not our characters. So yeah, I've been around, I've seen some unfortunate encounters with fans who tried to kind of treat the actresses like objects or talk to them as if the things that happened in a particular series actually happened to us. We're like, no, we're actors. So it happens for sure. But I know that in some of the series that I've been in that have heavily had a lot of fan service in them, and there aren't many, I was very apprehensive. I kind of did the show because it was a test for me. Like, I wanted to see what's going to happen when I do this. So I knew, I'm like, this could fail miserably. This could be a very bad choice, but I'm going to make this choice and see what happens. And by and large, it was a positive experience. The worst part about it was how awkward I felt in the booth performing those things. And I find that, so the show in question is Freezing. And in particular, there are a lot of female fans who like the show and then relate to my character. So there's a positive to it in that Satellizer went through a lot. She experienced a lot. She's essentially traumatized and abused. You're like, where's the positive in that, Caitlin? She overcame it. And that is what is great about it. In the end, she's the strongest, she's the toughest, no one can beat her, and she wins. So if I can play a character that brings hope to people who in real life, unfortunately, are experiencing or have experienced something like that, then I'm grateful for that opportunity, and it makes it worth any awkward encounters with other fans. I hope that answers your question. Right here in the front.
What do you do to vocally and mentally prepare for a role?
What do I do to vocally and mentally prepare for a role? So kind of two different things. Most of the time you need to know what your particular character's voice is going to entail. Is it a difficult and strenuous and stressful? Am I going to be screaming a lot? Or am I just talking? If I'm just talking, all I really need to do is warm up my voice a little, make sure that I've actually spoken that day before I step into the booth. Don't just, be silent at home, silent in the car, get in the booth and go rah, 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 and it comes out wrong. So most actors have learned through their training, either in school or plays they've been in or something, how to treat their instrument that is our voice. Stay hydrated, don't smoke, drink this tea, etc., do some warm-ups. And then if you're going to scream a lot, be prepared for that and know your limits. And your director and the team, production team, should also know what your limits are. So if you're going to have to yell a lot, you should not have a 4-hour session. And you shouldn't have had another session for another show before that. And you probably shouldn't have other sessions booked for later in the day if you think that you might stress your voice out, and then it really puts out the other people that you have to let down when you cancel sessions because you lost your voice. Mental preparedness, I honestly don't do anything. I'm just being frank with you. A lot of the time I'm directing and then I stop directing and then I leave the room and go into another booth and act for somebody. So there isn't a lot of time for me to sit and think about my character and ruminate. That's not really how it works with voice acting most of the time anyway. You don't have materials at home to study. There is no preparing. The preparing is what you've done beforehand to train yourself as an actor. How you've worked out those skills so that when you have the job, you just do it. Here are the words, watch it in Japanese once, and go. And that's it. That sounds maybe like super stressful. I find it very relaxing because the Japanese, they essentially tell me what to do. Like, okay, do it like that, you got it. And yeah, it's tricky because there's timing to be considered. We have to match the mouth animation and all of that, but it's so organic. You see a thing, you get to hear the music, you get to see it animated, so I just take my natural reactions to what it is I'm watching and turn it around and put it into the performance. That's all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to switch sides. Any questions over on this side?
So, playing Mina Ashko from My Hero Academia, what's been one of your favorite lines to voice act so far?
So she says, playing Mina Ashido in My Hero Academia, what has been a favorite line to perform so far? I can't remember any of them. I'm just being honest with you guys. Because we don't have to memorize our scripts. And usually, I only see it when I am performing it, when I'm recording it. And I don't often get a chance to watch the finished episode. So it's very hard for me to remember anything she ever says. I know the last thing I did, I think I said, "Acid Man," really loud, which is like her new power, and she coats herself in acid and then like lands on her enemy. I'm like, well, that's pretty rad. In general, anytime I get to just be really silly and add in fun things that make Mina seem so modern and of the moment, those are my favorite lines. So anytime she just gets to throw in a fam at the end of her thing or call somebody bougie or something like that, I get a big kick out of it. So those are my favorite Mina things to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, here in the middle.
Any fond memories recording the new recessing today?
Oh, fond memories is the whole experience. The whole experience is one great, big, fond memory, and fond is the best word to use for it, because honestly, it was a lot of hard work. It's a very emotionally charged series, and while there's certainly wonderful comedy throughout, it's a big heartbreaker a lot of the time. So probably the person who made me laugh the most working on that show would be Aaron Dismuke, who plays Kakaru, and also Micah Solasad, who plays, how come I can't remember his name? They just call him Chibi something all the time. They just call him Short Stack.
It's now.
Thank you, now. I'm like, oh, too many names flying around in my head. They are hilarious, and they're wonderful actors with fantastic sense of comedic timing. So we just had the best time with those characters in particular. But like, a fond memory, I feel like if I could spend all day going over all of them. It was really special to get, you guys would appreciate this since you're Petra and Levi cosplayers, it was really special to get Matthew Mercer on board to play God in the show. I didn't think I would be able to, and I knew that I needed to decide on an actor because the folks in marketing were asking me who I had cast because they were going to make an announcement and needed to prepare the materials, and I'm like, God, I don't know. And I knew that it needed to be someone special, and it had to be like a really cool voice actor, and everyone was going to go crazy about it. And I'm like, who could I get? And someone whose voice would also suit the character, right? Not just some stunt casting to get people excited about it. So I listened, and when you listen to this character, who is the voice of God in Japanese, it's not like you would imagine God being in a Western sense. It's not like, it's not Morgan Freeman, or it's not some like extremely old, bearded dude in the sky. In fact, it's a little bit higher pitched in Japanese than what we went with in English. And for some reason, And with good reason, I realized later, as I would just keep watching it in Japanese and waiting for just names or voices to come to me. And Matt kind of came to me and I'm like, you know what? I bet that he could. So I went through and like dug around online and listened to some reels that lovely fans had thrown together on YouTube, just compilations of things that Matt had done. Because of course I think of him as Levi, right? Or I think of him as just like really tough guys and stuff. And then I heard some of the lighter voiced things and I'm like, I think maybe, but now, can he do it? Does he have the time? Will he? Will he do it? So I sent him a text message and I said, hey, if you're not busy, there's this little show, maybe you've heard of it, it's called Fruits Basket with this actress, maybe you know her, Laura Bailey, I don't know. She's kind of a big deal. At the time, Laura had just won a BAFTA award for her performance in, somebody help me, which came? The Last of Us 2, I think? Yeah, and like, she's like famous or whatever. Anyway, so she's in this show called Fruits Basket, and I want to know if you could do this kind of cameo role for me. The role is God. And that was it, and then I just sent it, and I got back like a big ha ha ha, like all capital letters, and he's like, how much time do you need? Yes! So just 2 hours tops, that's it, 2 hours, if that. There are no mouth flaps, it's gonna be really easy. He's like, I'm in, let's do it. And so it was a great get, right, to get Matt to be on board with it, and then to perform, to just sit there and hear him perform those scenes that are so important to the whole story. I have chills right now, just thinking about how cool it was to have him there doing it. And he's such a storyteller, as you know, for anybody who's a Critical Role fan. Yeah, he didn't know anything about Fruits Basket though, but it was important for me to kind of download all this information to him. It can't just be, okay, so you're God and you're gonna do this, and I want to spoil for anybody who doesn't know the story. So I got to tell him for, I don't know, a good 10 minutes or more, like a truncated version of the Zodiac story of the Somas and what's been going on with all of them and why this is important that he shows up, and he's like, wow, this sounds like a really good show. Like it is, you should watch it. And then he did it, he performed it maybe 2 takes, and the second take was just a safety, just to have it. And that was that. That was Matthew Mercer as God. So, my Fruits Basket anecdote. Thank you for asking. Sorry for the long-winded answer, you guys. Right here in the brown shirt.
So 3 days ago was Guilty Crown's 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
How was your experience doing that?
I loved being on that show. What a neat show. The show is Guilty Crown, and if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. I liked getting to play a very layered character who, on the surface, you just assume she's kind of the overachieving student council president type. But then when you see what's really going on with her, and then everything that she does, she's some pretty dark things as the story progresses, it was neat. And I like working with Colleen as a director, her directing me. I feel like we've known each other for so long, I'm always trying to impress her. Like, what can I do that she doesn't expect of me? And I think that role was one of those things. So I was grateful for the opportunity, and it's a really cool show. Let's go back to this side, Matthew.
As a director and also just from watching it, do you have a favorite aspect of the show overall or character from the Saints Magic Power on Minton?
Oh, wow, okay. So I directed a show that's currently airing on Funimation, and it'll wrap up pretty soon. It's called The Saint's Magic Power is Omnipotent, and it is so lovely and pure and chill and romantic and just good. It's just a good story, you guys. We all need one of those really good stories every once in a while. So a favorite aspect of it or a favorite performance, is that what you're saying?
Aspect of the show or this character you like?
Oh man, I really have a special place in my heart for Earhart Hawk. So that's Commander Hawk's older brother. I think it was my first time working with Reagan Murdoch, and I first heard Reagan in, what's that show we just did about vampires? Mars Red. We maybe have one scene together. And I have this sort of accent, and I talk like this, and I'm just sort of a girl in this show, and then I run into this guy, and it turns out he's a vampire, and I don't know that, but it's Reagan, and Reagan's an opera singer, and he has a remarkable resonance to his voice, and he's like a natural. When he speaks, his voice is a baritone. When he sings, it sings a bass. I'm like, holy moly, who is that? And he also, in Mars Red, had a British accent, so I'm like, shut up, I cannot even with you right now. So of course I wanted him to read for Saints, and man did he nail it. He was so great, and he's so pleasant and wonderful, and his voice just fits in so well into that world, into what I like to call like the vocal ensemble of the series, with this deep richness, especially in his scenes with Ryan Colt Levy as Yuri, who's this light and melodic and sort of fluffy, ridiculous voice, and then Reagan is very grounded. Oh, it's music. It's absolute music. I adore them.
I could listen to Reagan with the phone number.
For real. Like if I had his phone number, I would call him and I'd be like, Reagan, just talk to them. Just say anything at all. Yes.
Okay, so with from the My Hero Academia world, what kind of quirk do you think you would have?
I always joke that I would like a number of quirks. There are so many things I could think of that would be great, like the ability to do my own taxes, the ability to always put the USB in the correct way on the first try. I would like to be able to eat whatever I wanted and it not affect me in any negative way. Yeah, I would like to, but the one that I came up with that everybody seems to be really into is I would like to regulate my body temperature to always be comfortable.
Amen.
Yeah, and the ability to steal that comfort from others. And so that, because you're like, well, how does that help you when you're fighting? Well, I take away your comfort so that I feel great in whatever situation. And I could have some other person on my team, like, teleport us to, like, Antarctica, right? And I feel fine, and you would already be freezing because it's Antarctica, but I could, like, make it even too. There's that. And then my friend Lauren Moore today just posted that she would like her quirk to be to talk to animals. I'm like, oh, I want that too. I think that's great. I don't know how you would save the world with that, because just because you can talk to them doesn't mean you can convince that elephant to, stomp on the bad guy. But it would be really nice to just talk to my dogs, at least. Yeah. How about on the side, in the back?
What was your favorite part about being Harvey on Laura?
My favorite part about being Haruhi is being Haruhi. What's great about her is she is one of a kind. There's no one else like her in all of anime, period. So that's what I love, that she's just so different. The voice is cool and fun, and like what a neat world to inhabit for the 6 months of my life that we recorded that, to be surrounded by the beautiful boys in a ridiculous situation all the time, being taken on adventures, and she just takes it all in stride. She's great. What a cool character. What else? Way over here.
What do you love about directing?
Oh, what do I love about directing? I love the collaboration of it. I love coming together with people and telling a story together. Which is strange. You might assume that someone would like to be a director because they want to be in charge, right? Be in control. It's like, I guess I like that I hold the keys, so to speak. I get to drive the car that is this experience, and I'm able to unlock some things for actors who don't have answers that they need to perform what it is that they need to perform. But I can't do their performance, that's their job. So we get to work together. And the way the engineer works with us as well to capture their performances, and like they could give the most perfect emotional performance, but the timing could be off just a little bit. So that's where the engineer comes in, like to work their magic and have it work out in the end. It's so cool. The cool's like not a good enough word to describe the feeling of it, but yeah, and to know that we're giving an experience to all of you, and to hope that you're latching on to all of the feelings that we're putting into our work. I don't know, it just, it has a good payoff. You know, and it's crazy. Anime life, maybe you're like, that's so great. It's so stressful, truly. It's really a lot. We have to, I'm not trying to complain about my job or make you feel bad for me. I don't mean that at all. But directors are often working on 2 or 3 shows at a time at different stages of the game. Casting, preparing for casting, researching our next thing, wrapping up the other thing. But the opportunity to just like push all that aside when we are recording is great. You also just like put on blinders to the rest of the world, the rest of whatever, and it's just you and the actor, and you know, we're gonna talk about Toto Honda, let's make this thing happen, or whatever it is that we're working on. And it's nice. It kind of feels, especially with dubbing, similar to when I used to be good at math and I'm not anymore. When you're given like a blank page of just problems, but you know the formulas, you know how to do it, and you sit down and you work them out, and it's that satisfaction when you're done, like, we solved it. And that's what it feels like when we're putting together this puzzle of a dub. And here's a voice, and then the next session we'll add the next voice, and then the engineer's gonna put it all together, and then this other engineer's gonna mess with the overall sound of it, and it's just great. It's great. Those things are what make directing awesome. Cool question, thank you. Right here.
What was your favorite character to
My favorite character to act is definitely Haruhi Fujioka, for sure. I didn't know the answer to this for a long time, so I would give like a top 5. And it's like the big characters that you would expect. Haruhi, Winry, Vivi, Cammy from Street Fighter. But overall, absolutely, it's Haruhi. Because I've learned after all this time that there's no one else like her. And unless they magically decide to make more Oron the way they made more Fruits Basket, I won't get to play her again. So she's very special. Yes, sir.
What was it like working on One Piece? And did you know all along that Vivi wouldn't be a Straw Hat?
I did not know all along that Vivi would not be a Straw Hat, but it kind of depends on how you consider all along. So I shared this yesterday. If you were in the panel, I apologize. I'll kind of do a recapped version. One Piece, as you may or may not know, started at 4 Kids being dubbed. And then when Funimation got it, we had to continue where 4 Kids had left off because it was still airing on television. So we were over 100 episodes in, working on like the Skypiea arc. I auditioned for the show for the other females, for Nami, also for Chopper. I didn't get either of them. But then along came a video game for the Wii, and Vivi was in that video game. And so based off of my auditions for the show, I was cast as Vivi, and the first thing that I did was this game, and I had no idea. Because back then, watching One Piece, unless you watch the 4 Kids dub, I had no idea to know what the story was. So I did the game, I'm like, okay, well that was cool, I guess I'll be her eventually. So while we started where 4 Kids left off and we worked forward for TV, eventually and simultaneously we went back to the beginning. So it was kind of like 2 tracks of One Piece happening at the same time. But before we got to the Alabasta arc, they decided, let's do one of these many One Piece movies. And the Alabasta arc was still the most popular arc at the time, so they chose the movie about that. So I did the movie before I ever did the arc, which is a good 50 episodes or so. So I knew, because I had done the movie, what would happen, that she would go off, sail off with them. She would stay to be a princess and, lead her people, and that's good. But I am pleased to announce that as dubbing continues on One Piece, Vivi is back, and I am getting to record for her once again, and it is a delight. I was so excited when it happened. I was working not with Mike McFarland, who initially directed me, of course, but with a different director, and I was taking pictures of it and texting him, like, look what I'm doing today, I can't believe it, I can't believe it. I'm so excited. She's the best. And I have a large collection of Vivi figures at home, so it's wonderful to still play her. Over on this side, I'm gonna go to the back, very back.
How do you feel when you were at the show at Freezing?
Oh, were you here at the very beginning of the panel?
No.
I totally talked all about freezing. It was an interesting way to kick off the panel, but how did I feel about it? I was happy to be stretching as an actor and doing something that I hadn't done before. I often felt uncomfortable, but I loved getting to be the tough girl also. So, in the front.
When we were doing Nabari no O, and I apologize, I don't remember the character name.
Kazuho, maybe?
I think.
Yeah.
Did they give you like any of the backstory of what was happening with her brother and Yoite, or was it just, here's the script, do what you think and react to what you see on screen?
Oh, you always, well, a good director will always give you the backstory if they know it. And if it is important for you as a character to know it. Sometimes they'll need to tailor the backstory because it's like, what information would you have only if this were really what has happened to you? So yes, it's been a number of years, so I don't now recall what the backstory was, but I do remember that character very well. I remember liking playing her because it was one of the first times I was cast just to use my natural speaking voice, like what you're hearing right now. She was so casual, and that was really cool and fun for me. I loved that about it, and I thought it was a really neat show. Monica Rial was directing it. I think it was maybe the first time I was directed by Monica, so that was also great. It was neat. It was a neat experience. Thanks for bringing up oldies but goodies. That's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, anybody else who hasn't asked one yet? Just in case. Yes? What made me decide to start my voice acting journey? Well, I had always loved cartoons since I was a kid, forever. And when I was really young, I thought I wanted to be an animator, but I'm not good at drawing. I know you can learn how to draw, but I did not possess a natural aptitude for this. So I pursued acting, and the idea of voice acting was, so I was getting a degree in theater, and I also started watching anime again as a hobby late in college, just because I needed something else to do besides theater and church stuff. And one night I was watching all the way through whatever I was watching on Toonami or something at the time, and I watched through the credits, and I saw, Funimation Entertainment, Fort Worth, Texas, and I went, what? That's what, I live there. Hello, I don't live in Fort Worth, but Dallas and Fort Worth are two cities right next to each other, and my college was right in between those two. So I'm like, what, it's here? Well, that's cool, but I still didn't know how to pursue it and still assumed I was gonna go off to graduate school and study Shakespeare and do whatever. I just thought, hey, it's cool that they do this at the place where I happen to be at the time. A little bit later, and I mean just like weeks or months after that, I have found out that a friend of mine from church worked at Funimation as a sound engineer. And he gave me a tour, and on the tour I met a director, Eric Vale, who made me audition on the spot and gave me a job. True story. So I didn't really mean to pursue it as a career, and I think a lot of voice actors of my generation would say the same. We set out to become actors, and we kind of fell into voice acting, discovered we had a knack for it, and then just kept at it. So I joke that, my thing started as a gig, and then it turned into a job, and now it's a career, like about 18 years later or so. Pretty crazy to believe. So that's how it started, that's how it happened, and what's the meme, like how it started, how it's going, and still going. How about on this side? Here you go. Yes, it was in an episode of Yu Yu Hakusho.
Woo!
Yeah, right? And it was just a voice off screen someplace, and the line I had to say was, "Ugly creep, how about I mace you?" And I was off screen, so I still don't know if it's like mace like pepper spray or mace like spiky ball on a stick. Why not both? Yeah, so that was the line. And I don't know what episode. I'm not sure if he saved it and used it. If he did, I should be compensated for that. Mr. Vale, hello. And then a few days later, I was working on the first episode of Case Closed. And if you watch Case Closed, it's a really fun episode. They go on this roller coaster, and then a guy loses his head on a roller coaster. That's terrible. And I am the girlfriend of that guy, who's just like screaming her head off and then crying a lot. I think her name is maybe Erica. Or Caitlin, I don't know. Because they reversion that show a lot, people have the most ridiculous names like Ethel Castlefinger and things like that. But anyway, my first anime gig. Yeah, right here in the red.
So yeah, you voiced a lot of like video game characters.
Yeah.
Particularly in video game characters are getting hit, there are a lot of like effort like voice lines.
Uh-huh.
How do you protect your voice from being
So video games always have efforts, like always. I mean, maybe if you're doing like a Telltale game where it's just long, drawn-out story of, you know, like The Walking Dead or something like that. But you're gonna scream, I mean, they're zombies. But anyway, so usually your day when you're recording a long-form game, like an RPG, is divided, so you'll do all of your regular dialogue first, and then at the end of the day, the end of the session is when you'll do the effort stuff, for typically no more than an hour, and hopefully less than that. To protect your voice, you just make sure it's hydrated, you make sure it's lubricated with things like certain cough drops you can have, or a spray, and yeah, it depends on the type of game. Sometimes you have to match the length of the file in Japanese. So if you're localizing a game, so in that case you'll hear it, and then do it, hear it, and then do it. And the engineers try their best to save a take if you're a little long or a little short. That's really what, you just have to think smarter, right? Work smarter, not harder. That's what that's about. It's a team effort, and not be afraid to speak up if your voice is tired or hurt, because the director doesn't know until you tell them. And they're not going to be mad if you tell them, I need a break. So, yeah, that's how. White shirt.
So, as fans like starting to do their own dubbing, do you guys think there will ever be like conflict between them doing their own dubs and sending it over to the US, and it getting in the way of like Funimation doing their own dubs and trying to get licenses?
Who's doing their own dubs?
Japan, like I've seen a lot of their studios started to do their own English dubs. And
What studios? What shows?
it was, I can't think of what the studio was called, I know, like the ones who were doing D4DJ have started doing their own, and some of those small groups have started doing their own. You think they'll...
I don't think it'll take over everything at all, because the anime licensing companies over here have great relationships with the companies over there. And in fact, the funding of all of the anime that you watch is pretty cyclical. So if we weren't licensing the shows, more new shows wouldn't get made. So they have to kind of make them with respect to this other part of the industry. And now everybody's freaking getting in on anime. Everyone wants it on their streaming services. Disney Plus is going to have anime, and more than just Star Wars. So it's everywhere, and I don't think they're, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, Japanese animation companies making anime have enough to deal with just getting the show made. If you know anything about how hard it is to actually produce an anime, it's not as glamorous as you might like it to be. There's a great show and a great anime called Shirobako, and it is all about anime production. And you will see the amount of effort that it takes. It's not like a Hollywood, it's not Pixar, you know, where they have years and years to make this thing. They're like down to the wire, finishing up episodes hours before it's gonna go be on television in Japan. So I think the last thing they want to have to deal with is another audio track. Maybe they're doing it right now just to be experimental. And I know with some things like D4DJ, it's about a particular artist. They want this artist to be in their show as a voice actor, like in Japanese, and then they want that same artist to also be in the dub. And then as a way to promote that artist and get people over here to buy such and such a J-pop album or something like that, which is, you know, cool, whatever, that's cool. I have friends who are in D4DJ. So I think it's maybe just kind of a phase, probably not a lasting one. What else? I don't know how to pick. I'll get to both of you guys right here.
Given what you just said, do you think it's a bubble that will burst at some point in time? Do you think, obviously there was a time when there was nothing on the shelf or anime, and then, you know, you reach a point, do you foresee there reaching a kind of a point of saturation where you'll come back, because obviously you're doing all these things multiple times a day, which means you're not Peter Jackson, you're not producing 3 movies over 10 years, you're producing multiple series.
At a time, and I'm just one person, yeah. There are 9 staff directors and then a handful of contractors, and that's just at animation in-house. And we subcontract right now to so many other studios because we're backlogged due to the pandemic. I don't think that it will ever go away, because it's shown that it's just, the audience for anime keeps growing and growing. It'll ebb and flow. Like right now there are shows that are really appealing to a wider audience. Shows like My Hero Academia, for example, and even like Demon Slayer to some degree, though that is a bit more very Japanese, and so some people are maybe not into that. So it kind of depends on what's the big show at the time, but the fact that the place that you see anime is mainly streaming platforms, and most people are going the way of getting rid of their cable and using only streaming. So it's definitely there, and I think it's certainly here to stay. I don't really know what like the future of dubs is. There's so many people who want to be voice actors, so I don't think we're going to run out of actors. What we do need are more people who know how to direct and write and an ADR engineer. We need more of that, so that we can keep up with the demand. That's what's really hard. If anything bursts, it'll be us, the ones who do the work. So, yeah. And to be frank about it, most of the work is done in Texas, where we're not protected by any sort of union, or we could gang together and be like, this isn't okay. And it's not like we're working ridiculous hours. We work normal working hours, but sometimes I feel like I'm doing twice the brain work within that amount of time. And a lot of us would love to go back to when we were only doing one show at a time, but now we've proven that we can do otherwise, so, well, okay, the next question. That's a really cool question. I'm just afraid that I'll take this panel on down a dark path. Yes?
So when you were doing the soccer quest video live stream when it was aired,
Oh, yeah.
I've sent in a question before, and you're the guest that you had on this specific episode answered, but you didn't, so I would like to know your answer for this.
Oh, I hope I have an answer.
Okay, what two characters of yours would you take on a road trip?
What two characters would I take on a road trip? Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, probably Winry, because if like the car broke down or something, she could fix it. So that seems like a good idea. Gosh, there's so many characters. I'm thinking. I'm picturing my table right now with all the autographs. Am I going to take that person or that person? Probably Winry to fix stuff, and then Mina, because she would be fun. She'd be fun. Like I could see her being in charge of the radio, in charge of in the car games, in charge of where we stop, and like silly things that we stop to do along the way. She's very much like the social director of things. So I think they would make good road trip companions. Yes.
Okay, so I know from your social media that you're really big on like doing like, the Shakespeare and the Clark type productions and all that. So I was just curious, and you mentioned Shakespeare instead of theater and all that. So do you have a favorite play of his that you like to perform?
Hamlet. Hamlet's my favorite. I have been in it once, and I hope to be in it many more times in my life.
What was your role in that one?
Let's see. I was the player queen. I've been the player queen twice. I've also been Marcellus, and so I've actually done the show 2 times. I did a reading of the full uncut production, but it was just a staged reading. So you move around and you have costumes, but you're not memorized. And then in the other production I did, I was the player queen again, and also Francisco, and also Osric. I'd be happy to be anybody in it. It's wonderful. If I could be anyone, Hamlet. It's like the most terrifying role I could think of would be to play that part, which means I should probably do it at some point.
I've seen Romeo and Juliet perform at the Preparedness Theater back on home state a couple years ago. So
That's awesome.
I think the one play I would like to see perform live is A Midnight Summer Dream.
Midsummer Night's Dream, I just did that one in May. Yeah, so I do a ton of Shakespeare, she's right. I did that one in May, and then just maybe a month or so ago, I did 2 Gentlemen of Verona, and right now we're working on Richard II, which will go up in less than a month. That's crazy. I'm putting on a show in 3 weeks, you guys. I better learn my lines. Yes?
If you could be on one of them, but you haven't been in yet, which would you do?
Shakespeare? The Winter's Tale. I'd really like to be in The Winter's Tale. A couple of years ago, I went to England and I got to go to the Globe in London and see a production, and it happened to be The Winter's Tale, and I had never read The Winter's Tale at that time. I knew generally what it was about, and I had read monologues from it before, like in searching for audition pieces and stuff. I really, really loved it, and in particular, I loved the role of Paulina. And it was offered to me by the same group of friends that I typically perform these Shakespeare plays with, but I was going to be out of town for too many of the few rehearsals that we would have, so I turned it down for their sake. I'm like, I want your show to be successful, and I cannot come to anything. And I think I was double booked. Like, the company had split, so one group was doing Winter's Tale over here, and another group was about to do Titus and Andronicus over here. And I could still be in Titus because it was just a cameo performance. I was the nurse, if you know anything about Titus and Andronicus, so I just come in all covered in blood, and I've got the baby, anyway. So eventually, I would like to get to be in The Winter's Tale. It's a really wonderful, amazing show. What's that?
Do you only perform with one company?
I can't think.
Do you only perform with one company?
No, I perform with about 3. Yeah, 3 different ones. Yes?
So from your perspective as an actor and director, do you see anime becoming more mainstream, less have a negative connotation to it? Because, you know, with like things on Netflix, like, oh, everyone loves The Office, no bad things like that, but people see like anime like food, you know?
I don't know that if people do look at anime and go, ew, who cares about those people? Like, that's lame. Honestly, I think it really is, for lack of a better term, it's pretty mainstream. I can go anywhere, absolutely anywhere in my daily life, just doing stuff, going to Starbucks, going to the grocery store. I guarantee you I will see a person wearing something anime related. Some person. Just shopping in their My Hero shirt, in their Dragon Ball jacket, in their whatever, in their Naruto hat. I kid you not. It's everywhere. You can walk into, they sell stuff for it at Target. And in some aspects it's nostalgic things, like it's Sailor Moon or like original Dragon Ball. And then right next to it, you know, in the toy section at Walmart, there are end caps for My Hero Academia. It's here to stay. And if people want to have a negative attitude about it, that's fine. Everybody wants to hate on something. It's like, okay, well, I don't really like American football, so on you. But like, it's fine. I have nostalgic feelings for it. It makes me think about fall. It makes me think about my family. But as a sport, I could care less, right? So I think that's fine. I think people should think about anime in the same way, like, oh, it's a thing. I'm not into it. It's cool that you are. So that's what I hope happens. What I hope does not happen, and to some degree it already is that bigger companies want a piece of the anime pie, and they'll come in and start like Ghibli dubbing our everyday anime shows and putting like superstar celebrities into it. But I don't think that's really sustainable because there's so much anime, and celebrities will want to be paid a lot more money than the rest of us who get paid well for what we do, but not crazy amounts that you know, some movie star might want to be the lead in the next Demon Slayer show, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. No stunt casting, please, Hollywood. Yes, Seahorse.
Hi, so you do what do you do when you are like an ADR director and you also have a role? Like, how does that work when you're recording your lines? Are you harder on yourself, or do you tend to have easier time with it?
Anymore, I'm not harder on myself. When I first started, I was, because I was like, oh gosh, how do I do this? Is this right? But now it's kind of second nature, and it's also faster and easier, because if you were my actor, for example, you come in, it's your turn to play your part, you have to rely on me, the director, to tell you everything about here's what has gone on before, here's what's about to happen, watch it in Japanese, go, and then I tell you what to adjust. That was great, I need this to be more sad, and don't forget to pause after this part. Okay, we do it again. There's a lot of back and forth there. But when I step into the booth to direct something that I'm in, most of the time, I've already seen it multiple times, so I don't even need to preview it. We'll leave the Japanese playing, and I'll have what's called the beep track. The beeps are your cue. It tells you when to talk. And I will record just on top of the Japanese because I've seen it. We save so much time. I do the work in a third or a quarter of the time because there's not all of that back and forth stuff. So that's how it works. That isn't to say that I'm like racing to get it done. And if it's difficult, yes, I'm going to take my time to get it right. And that doesn't mean I never preview. I will if I need to, especially the really emotional work that takes some introspection, sorry, for a while to get it done right. Cool question, thank you. Way over here.
Do you have any favorite lines for
Any favorite lines as Petra from Attack on Titan? No, not really. To be honest, I can't remember them. I think I recorded that show in 2014. 2013, 2014. So I don't remember much of what she said, but I remember the show very fondly, and in particular, I remember a convention I attended in Oakland, California with Matthew Mercer, and we watched Petra's final episode, let's call it, while at the convention. Like, we watched it together the night that it aired on TV, and he hadn't seen it. When we record, all we really see are the parts that we're in, and also the parts where our character speaks. So the important moment where, like, Levi comes swinging through the trees and sees the aftermath of what the female Titan hath wrought was just like, Matt was like gasping for breath, and we were like clutching each other. It was really intense and very sad, very sad. And the next day at a panel, a fan asked us if we would improvise a scene of Petra confessing to Captain Levi before they go into the forest that day. And I was like, I wanted to say no, and Matt's like, yeah, we can do that. And I'm like, oh my God. Fine. Which pretty much means he sits there silently while I have to do this thing. But that's his game, right? Like, that's what he does. That's what D&D is, yeah? So I'm like, okay, crash course, Caitlin, go. Someone recorded it. It is on the internet somewhere, but you're gonna have to do a deep dive to find it. The convention was called Kraken Con, and it was in 2014. So, to me, while I can't remember exactly what I said, because we did that kind of exercise so close to the airing of the episode, that moment is like canon in my mind and is pretty special, even though it isn't actually canon in the real story. But you can draw your own conclusions about the captain's feelings for Petra. I think they're obvious, but that could just be me. Thanks for that question. Yes?
Do you have any, like, advice for someone who's wanting to career in voice acting?
Sure. Advice would be that the most important word in our title of voice actor is actor. Actor, 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 actor. So learn how to be an actor. Because all of the things that it's time consuming, but I truly believe that the years that I spent in plays and the years that I spent getting a degree make my job easier. Things are second nature to me. The questions that I have to ask myself, the decisions, split-second decisions that I have to make, I don't struggle over them or stress about them because I've been trained. So learn the art of acting. And it is very fun. So yes, it's difficult, but it's super fun. So start there. Take an acting class anywhere that you can. And truly, I would say don't even look for voice acting, because so many people want to be voice actors, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that means that there are people out there willing to prey upon those who would like to become voice actors and try and sell you on this course that they're offering, or take this, and there are plenty of people that are legit actors giving classes because they need to pay their rent, and you should learn from them, for sure. Just do your research. But that's why I say, forget about the voice acting part of it for a while, and just focus on acting and learn what scene work is, and learn what your motivation is, and learn how to make decisions and how to interact with other actors. I know it's weird because it's COVID-y still, so where can you do that? I don't know, but it won't last forever, you know? We'll overcome this. You could even find just an acting coach that could be one-on-one online over the internet and just do monologues with them. And then after that, start looking into, okay, about this voice acting thing, and learn what sort of equipment you might need, and go from there. Dee Bradley Baker is a really famous voice actor who has a website can just look him up by name. I think it's probably dbradleybaker.com. And on there, he has this huge FAQ section for people that want to be voice actors. And most of us in the industry point people to that. Like, D did all of the work for us. Please go look at his website.
It's I want to be a voice actor.com.
It's iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. There you go. There you go. What else? Right here.
What's your favorite line that you did as Harvey?
My favorite line that I did as Harvey is, no way in hell, Senpai. I just like it. Short, sweet, to the point. Yes, sir.
So, as a director, when everyone was like recording from home, that made your job harder?
Yes. It is so much harder recording from home. I know that actors love it. Myself, as an actor, I love it because I don't have to get in a car and go anywhere. But there are a lot more challenges with recording from home, namely the equipment that your actor at home has. Is it sufficient? Is it up to par? How is their internet? We rely on the internet, and that sucks. Internet in any given part of the country could be bad either for the actor, for the director, or for the engineer, and all three of us are in different locations. And at Funimation, there's the actor, the director, the engineer, and then the studio. So the computer that holds all of the files is not where the engineer is. It's at the studio for the safety of those files and that information and like hacking and rules that we have with licensors. So it's like we've got 4 places that have to interact with one another, utilizing 3 different programs just to share the information, and then another 2 programs to control the computer and the actual recording itself. It's so much. For example, if you were my actor and my engineer in the before times, you could come in, we're gonna watch our scene in Japanese, you're gonna prepare 1, 2, 3 cues at a time, however many I have you do. And a director who's been doing this a long time, as the actor is performing, and I'm watching the video, I can tell as we go what's working and what's not working, timing-wise. And when you finish talking, the engineer can continue rolling, they're still recording, and I will say, okay, great, give me that second part faster, and you throw it out what we call wild, like a loose thing, and the engineer's gonna move it into place, and once you do that, I'll say, wonderful, and that third part, louder, please. You do that, and then he slams it all together, clickety-click, clack, cut it up, you know, do some Tetris, and bam, here we go. And at the same time, as he's doing that, I can tell him, I know that first part was late, you're gonna need to move it to the left, it's stuff like that. So my eyes can catch a lot as we watch in the before times. But currently, I am beholden to the program that shares the video with us, that oftentimes drops frames. So there are, in animation, there are 23 frames or drawings per second. And that flip by that make it look like this thing is alive and moving. But sometimes the program you're using doesn't show you some of those. So I can't really tell if you're doing it right on the first try. And also because of the lag that can occur through the internet, you think you're going on time, because at your house you hear beep, 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 talk. But at my house, I hear beep, 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 talk. And that's when you finally start talking. So we have to review a lot more frequently than normal. And maybe you performed it perfectly, but guess what? The program we used to record you had a glitch in it. So there's no sound for that long in the middle of a word. So we gotta get it again and get it again. It's so time consuming. We want to pull our hair out. We still manage to get it all done, and often in the less time than we booked for it, but it's just exhausting. Our brains are so tired of all the back and forth. So it's nice that we can utilize actors from anywhere in the country, and that is the benefit of working this way. I'm not limited, and my talent pool is larger, let's put it that way. But I wish that everyone could be in the studio, and the last thing I'll say about it is there's a lot more work on the back end. The mix engineers have to do what's called EQing, equalizing, to make it sound like all of the characters are in the same place. And it used to be they were in the same place, recorded from Funimation Studios, in the same room that has the same tone to it. But you got this guy's closet, this person's actual professional booth that they have in their house, this person who was at a convention and recorded from under a blanket on their bed. You know, like, it's not that bad, okay, but I'm just giving extreme examples. So I can hear it now, like, when I hear shows, because there's only so much EQing you could do. I went back recently to watch a show from the before times. I needed to watch it for research purposes, and I was like, oh, it sounds so good, because they were all recorded in the same place. So, can't wait for us to get back to in studios. Please. All right, what else you guys got? I feel like that was long-winded and boring. Here you go.
Did you ever read ahead in the manga to see if you were going to be cast again as a role you might like?
As an actor, no, I don't read ahead in the manga. What's really neat about our job in voice acting is that it is so spontaneous and organic. So when you show up, the reactions that you're having are your first reactions, and it makes them so much more natural and real. I don't like knowing what's happening. It's really rare in the world of acting. Most of the time, if you're in a film or a play, you've read the script, and you know what happens next. Maybe if you're in some kind of episodic or periodical thing like a soap opera, you don't know what happens to your character in the next episode, but you do know everything that happens in the episode you're in. But that's not so with anime. I show up, what's going to happen to me today? And it happens. So I don't like reading ahead as an actor. As a director, absolutely, if there's a manga, I'm going to read it if I can get my hands on it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else? Okay, speak now. Yes, Matthew.
Do you think Haumea needs anger management?
No, Haumea does not need anger management. She's perfect the way she is, and she uses her anger to get what she wants. She is a villain after all. Anger management. Psh, what is that? Okay, guys, this has been really fun. I hope I didn't bore you with my long-winded answers. I'm really wordy. And I am going to head to my table in the vendor hall and just give me a little bit of time to kind of set up, and I'll be there off and on the rest of the day if you need any autographs and stuff. Come on down. Yeah, thank you so much.